What do you do when you're called into the Supreme Council that sees the affairs and oversees them for a whole nation? Hello there, this is Dr. David Nichols, and I'm so glad to be back with you here studying in the book of Acts. And remember that you can go back into all of our previous sessions, both on Facebook and YouTube, and see those. If you need to catch up, that's great. But last time we finished up chapter 22, and we worked our way through it to see how Paul the Apostle was brought before the council of the Jews, which is called the Sanhedrin. And this is the body that determines everything of major importance for the Israelite nation in the Bible times. So, in verse 1 of chapter 23, this is what we read. Then Paul, looking earnestly at the council, said, "Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before God until this day." And this calling of Paul before this council is like when you were in school and your behavior required you to go in to see the principal, and the principal said, well, we're going to go beyond this and we're going to take you in front of the school board for your issues. So, and this is serious stuff though here. So Paul makes this opening statement that he has lived in all good conscience before God until this day. And verse 2 says, the high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. So you might expect there's going to be some sparks flying here in this session. There's some real animosity, and remember, Paul is a guy that knows these people. They used to be theological buddies. They used to be Christian persecuting friends back in the day when he was Saul of Tarsus. But now, these years have gone by with Paul functioning as Paul the Apostle, taking the gospel out to the Gentile world, and there is great disagreement and even great desire to do harm to Paul on the part of the Sanhedrin. So Ananias commands him to be stricken on the mouth. Paul said to him, God will strike you, you whitewashed wall. For you sit to judge me according to the law, and do you command me to be struck contrary to the law? And those who stood by said, do you revile God's high priest? Now remember, Paul has been out of circulation with this group now for some 14 or more years at this point. He used to travel in these circles. And Paul did not keep up on who was high priest at any certain point. There was a family here that kind of rotated around. It went to different individuals within the family. And most certainly, as they said in the council there, Ananias did not have all his big high priest regalia and get up on. He probably just wore the same clothes as the other guys wore. So Paul truly didn't know he was the high priest at that moment. So Paul says, verse 5, I did not know, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, you shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. So what is Paul going to do? The main lead guy is obviously very much against him, Ananias. So verse 6 tells us, when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Concerning the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am being judged. Okay, now why would he do something like this? Well, theologically, the The Sadducees were a group who did not believe in the existence of angels, did not believe in a resurrection in the afterlife, and the Pharisees certainly believed in those. You could kind of say the Sadducees were the anti-supernaturalists of their day, and the Pharisees were much more willing to believe in supernatural things. Verse 7 says, when he had said this, a dissension arose between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. Now remember, the reason Paul is here is because the Roman commander wants an answer to the question, why did you guys drag him out of the temple and try to kill him? That's all he wants to know. So he brings him into the Sanhedrin. Now the Sanhedrin is divided right down the middle between Democrats and Republicans. I mean, between Sadducees and Pharisees. And verse 8 explains what I just said to you. The Sadducees say that there is no resurrection and no angel or spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. Then there arose a loud outcry, and the scribes of the Pharisees' party arose and protested, saying, we find no evil in this man. In other words, they were protesting against this cruel treatment by Ananias, who was certainly a Sadducee. And we find no evil in this man, but if a spirit or an angel has spoken to him, let us not fight against God. You might remember that's the same advice that was given by Gamaliel back in earlier chapters here as they were dealing with Peter and John and those guys. Verse 10 says, now when there arose a great dissension, the commander, fearing lest Paul might be pulled to pieces by them, commanded the soldiers to go down and take him by force from among them and bring him into the barracks. So once again, the Roman commander essentially saves Paul's life and pulls him out of the Sanhedrin, where the Sadducees want to kill him, and the Pharisees are saying, maybe we should just listen at least and see what he has to say. So verse 11 tells us, but the following night the Lord stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Paul, for as you have testified for me in Jerusalem, so you must also bear witness at Rome. This is a very important word for Jesus to come and appear to him, actually, and speak this to him. Because remember, all these places where Paul has gone, prophetic words have come, people have spoken by the Spirit. Even Agabus the prophet spoke to Paul there in chapter 21. And warning about what was going to happen in Jerusalem. But what a confirmation that Paul is tracking through with exactly what he's supposed to be doing. Now, there's great dissension, there's great controversy, almost calamity on every side, but Paul never gives in to that and just keeps moving forward. So verse 12 says, when it was day, some of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under an oath, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. Now there were more than 40 who formed this conspiracy. They came to the chief priests and elders and said, we have bound ourselves under a great oath that we will eat nothing till we have killed Paul. And in verse 12 it says they wouldn't drink anything either. Verse 15, now you therefore, together with the council, suggest to the commander that he be brought down to you tomorrow, as though you were going to make further inquiries concerning him, but we are ready to kill him before he comes near. Now this is called an absolute fast, is actually what they're doing. This is desperation. This is this puts them in a very short-term kind of situation. They're either going to kill Paul or they're going to die themselves, because on an absolute fast, you get about 3 to 4, possibly 5, if you're a strong individual, days to live. Your body can live without taking in any liquids whatsoever. And that's how desperate they are here. And so you can see that religious fervor that is merely that and drives people away from the true living God brings them to this extremity of needing to kill Paul. They can't answer the wisdom that comes out of his mouth. They're divided amongst themselves. About half of them want to kill him. The other half say, no, leave him alone. Let him speak what he wants to speak. And here we are with this very, very stressful situation. Friend, I just want to encourage you today. When you get into times in your life and your walk with the Lord, when it's like this, where there's controversy on every side, expect that the same Jesus who appeared to Paul and spoke these wonderful words to him that he did in verse 11, that he will be with you, because he most certainly will. And I'm telling you, friends, in light of what's going on in our world today, I think more and more we are going to find that we are going to be in situations of great stress, of great calamity. Hear the words of Jesus when he says, fear not. Don't fear what's going on in the world. I have overcome the world. Jesus is with us. He is for us. And he was with Paul. And there's a very unique way that he had planned to take Paul through this very experience itself. Well, God bless you. Be encouraged with that. It's been great to be with you again. And we'll see you next time.